Well, we have more new light coming out of Watchtower, and I did not expect this one. I was not expecting this new light to come this soon. I would expect something like this to come out of the annual meeting. And before we even get started, again, I always like to ask a question to the Jehovah's Witnesses when it comes to new light. Do the Jehovah's Witnesses have the truth, or do they have interpretation of the truth? And it's looking like more and more that they just have interpretation. They don't have the actual truth. Again, this new light should actually have its members actually question this organization, actually question what their publications actually say. But before we even get into all that, let's just get into this new update from Garrett Loesch and just listen to what he has to say.
Jehovah God is the life giver, and he wants us to respect the gift of life. One way we show respect for life is by obeying his commands concerning blood. Jehovah gave Noah and his descendants the timeless command, only flesh with its life, its blood, you must not eat. He likewise directed Christians to abstain from what is strangled and from blood. It also affects the decisions we make about medical treatment involving blood. When making decisions about blood, we have also been guided over the years by what the Mosaic law stated at Leviticus 17, verse 13. If one of the Israelites or some foreigner who is residing in your midst is hunting and catches a wild animal or a bird that may be eaten, he must pour its blood out and cover it with dust. Is that law binding on Christians? The simple answer is no. For one thing, Christians today are not under the Mosaic law. God erased the handwritten document that consisted of decrees and was in opposition to us. He has taken it out of the way by nailing it to the torture stake. Therefore, Christians are not under the command that blood be poured out and covered with dust. Regarding the use of one's own blood, our position has been, as is stated in the October 15, 2000 issue of the Watchtower. There it says, a Christian must decide for himself how his own blood will be handled in the course of a surgical procedure, medical test, or current therapy. For that reason, many Christians accept simple procedures such as blood tests, as well as more complicated procedures involving their own blood, such as the use of heart-lung machines, cell salvage devices, and kidney dialysis treatments. Therefore, after much prayer and consideration of the Scriptures, the governing body has decided to clarify our position on the use of a patient's own blood in medical and surgical care. The clarification is this: each Christian must decide for himself how his own blood will be used in all medical and surgical care. This includes whether to allow his own blood to be removed, stored, and then given back to him. What does this mean?
He's full of shit!
Some Christians may decide that they would allow their blood to be stored and then be given back to them. Others may object. Each Christian must make his personal decision on all matters involving the use of his own blood with regard to medical or surgical care. In review, Christians are not under the Mosaic law. However, we obey the apostolic command to abstain from blood. Furthermore, the Bible does not comment on the use of a person's own blood in medical and surgical care.
It doesn't even comment on someone else's blood either.
Therefore, like other choices about health care, each Christian must make his own decision about the use of his own blood in all medical and surgical care.
Well, there you have it, guys. That is the new light out of Watchtower, that you are allowed to accept your own blood. Now, again, before we even get into it, I think some of the active members of this organization actually believe that this has always been a conscience matter. But I think these are just members who don't actually read their publication. I actually got into it with a brother over this topic about old publication and new publication. I sent him the 1989 Watchtower talking about how Jehovah's Witnesses do not accept stored blood. He sent me the information talking about how the organization makes it a conscience matter to accept blood fractions. So stored blood is still a conscience matter. And then I sent him in the Live Forever in the Live Forever book, the publication states that they still don't accept stored blood. So regardless of what's old and what's new, it still states that the Jehovah's Witnesses do not accept stored blood. And if you're an active Jehovah's Witness and you have a blood card, look under the healthcare power of attorney, and it actually states in section 2, or that paragraph 2, that last sentence, I refuse to pre-donate and store my blood for later infusion. So this is a big blow to Watchtower, this new light. And I hope it makes its active members question this organization, because you cost a lot of people lives. You shouldn't have a decision on whether or not a person should live or not. And according to what your publications state, this is a procedure that you didn't accept. And if it meant life or death for somebody to have an opportunity to have accepted stored blood and being able to live, they no longer have that personal choice anymore. So what do they say in their publications? This is why I like timelines so much. 1989, Jehovah's Witnesses do not accept stored blood. 2021, they said Christians do not accept stored blood. And 2026, it's just a personal choice. Do what you want. So this is going to follow suit with other things being a personal choice. Having tattoos, being able to celebrate your birthday, being able to celebrate holidays, being able to go into other religious organizations. Again, this is why I like asking the Jehovah's Witnesses, do you have the truth or do you have interpretation of the truth? At this point, you just have make-believe, and that make-believe cost a lot of people their lives. There is a lot of blood on the organization's hands. They basically said, we have enough sacrifices being made. We have our money. Let's just give the people what they want. Let's just give in. And if you look back on, some headlines, the organization was being pressured by other countries and other courts to have children to accept certain blood transfusions, and they purposely had denied those kids certain medical treatment. So it's only a matter of time before people actually question what their publications actually say. This isn't right. This organization is breaking a lot of families. And I was really thinking that I would not talk or make videos a while about the Jehovah's Witnesses, even if other new light came out on holidays or being able to celebrate birthdays or things like that. To me, that's just little stuff now. But lives are involved, and it could mean life or death to whether or not you want to continue to listen to this organization. But the information's there now. The apostates who felt like they weren't making a change, to the ones that continue to make content about this organization and the way they manipulate its members, we definitely are making our voices heard. And when we make our voices heard, it's going to make an impact. I think about like all the documentaries that were made like in the past and all the things that they would say, and being a Jehovah's Witness at the time and looking at the like the news, what the news stations would say about the organization. Again, I would come across this stuff like being recommended to me on YouTube and just giving it a watch. Let me just give you an example of the stuff I came across.
Jehovah's Witnesses believe the men who make up the governing body are chosen and directed by God. Yet out of apparent indifference or ignorance or worse, the governing body allowed witnesses to illegally bribe officials, while at the same time holding others to a policy that resulted in their wholesale rape and slaughter. It's difficult for me to believe these actions were inspired by God.
The control tentacles of the governing body extend even into the life and death world of medical treatment.
In the 17th chapter of Leviticus, in the 10th verse, it states that one should not eat blood of any sort. This means that God does not want us to sustain our life off of the life of some other creature. And that for that reason, because God has forbidden it, we abstain from taking blood.
The blood issue in the back of our minds was bothering us because as Jehovah's Witnesses, if we freely gave a blood transfusion to our daughter, we'd be excommunicated, we'd be disfellowshipped. Well, the doctors finally came to our room and it was just like an ultimatum. They said, listen, we know from our records that you're a Jehovah's Witness. We know that you don't take blood transfusions. And the doctor looked me straight in the eye and said, Mr. and Mrs. Blizzard, you have to make a decision, yes or no, whether your child lives or dies. I remember going over to the bed and she had these cords and wires keeping her alive, life support systems, and holding this limp child that was our only daughter, and just going over to the window and looking out and watching the clouds and the sky and just started to weep. And I said, oh God, Jehovah, and I prayed to Jehovah.
We just had a real distinct impression that we were supposed to obey God's law and go by what we had always been taught, and that we were to let our daughter die. And so we just called the doctors back in and told them that we had just had to let her die, that we had to obey God's law.
About a half an hour later, a sheriff deputy came to our room and gave my wife and I both citations, and they told us that a court order has already been issued. Your daughter is going to get the blood, and they also warned the staff of the hospital not to allow us to take Jenny out of the hospital.
And we were charged with child neglect and abuse.
The witnesses, there was multitudes of them that came up to the room, just swarmed the room, tried to giving us Watchtower articles about artificial blood, and you just can't let your child take that blood, and just putting this heavy guilt trip on us. The elders were relieved to find out that there was still time to get Jenny out of the hospital, and they would come up to me and say, hey, I've got a plan. We can get her, we can hire a helicopter, we can sneak her out of this hospital, just unhook the tubes, and we're gone. And I said, wait a minute. You can't do that. It's against the law. I'll be charged with murder. They said, that's a chance you're going to have to take. And I just told them, look, I just can't let my child die in that way. And the elders were just so upset. They left in a huff. They were mad. And one of the elders said on the way out, he looked me in the eye and said, you know what? I hope your daughter gets hepatitis from that blood. And that was just the straw that broke the camel's back. I was just broken here. My own people, God's organization, turning against me, cursing me, because I just wanted to see my child live. And so they left. And we were all alone. Even my own parents didn't come see us.
I think many times Jehovah's Witnesses have really never thought the blood thing through. It's either right or it's wrong. If it's wrong, the Watchtower Society is guilty of causing the deaths of thousands of people.
So that's just one clip that I'm going to share with you right now. And you can see how it affected people back then. You could even see people were saying the same thing back then. This organization has cost the lives of thousands. This goes to show that this organization really does have blood on their hands. And for any member to say that they don't, you have to really look in the mirror and just really ask yourself, is this organization really trying to manipulate on the things I believe? Yes, they 1000% are. It made a lot of people in this organization do a lot of crazy things when it came to decisions like the blood doctrine.
All right, let's review our plan one more time. We must act tonight, since your baby will receive a court-ordered blood transfusion tomorrow and become a ward of the court. Now, are we prepared to obey Jehovah rather than the law? Yes. All right. A phone call will be made to the nurse in the nursery in exactly 2 minutes. She will leave the nursery unattended, since she has to go to the station in order to receive the call. A faithful sister will keep her on the phone just as long as possible. Sister Beagle, you're to keep both nurses occupied at the station while Brother and Sister Small go to the nursery, take the baby, and leave.
You can count on me, Brother Stern. I'll keep them talking for plenty of time to save that poor baby from them. Loyalty to Jehovah's organization is the most important thing. I am prepared to go to jail if need be to stop that blood transfusion.
Oh, never mind the dramatics, Sister Beagle. Just get on with the job. Brother and Sister Small, there'll be no time for hesitancy once you get inside the nursery. I'm going to get the van now. I'll meet you at the appointed spot with the motor running and the door open. May Jehovah help us all.
Hello, I've just arrived and I would like to see my sister immediately, please.
May I ask?
They called me last night and told me she would probably have to have an emergency cesarean section, I believe it was. I'm just so worried. I wonder if I might go to her room right away. Could I do that, please? She was in a great deal of pain and I have driven all night long to get here through awful weather and dreadful traffic.
Before I can help you.
It won't be long now, and you'll all be hidden in a sister's farm in the next jurisdiction. We've also got some other safe locations to take you to, just in case the need arises.
Brother Stern, our baby, he's hardly breathing. He looks so sick.
You've got to help us, Brother Stern. Get us to a hospital fast.
We've come too far to go back. I'll take you to emergency in the next town.
Oh, God, what have we done to our baby?
Oh, hurry, Brother Stern, hurry!
Now, I'm not saying every circumstance like this is this extreme when it comes to the blood situation, but it could feel that way. You feel so pressured on not taking any procedure that has to do with blood because you feel that there's just going to be all these consequences that come along with it, whether if it's being removed or disfellowshipped or shunned from this organization, whether if you feel like you're not going to have the chance at being in paradise if something were to go wrong. The main point is that the elders should have given this option to whoever could have been facing life or death. They should have been told that, hey, you have the option to store your blood in case something goes wrong. But they continue to use the talking point that this is a procedure that we do not accept. And if you do accept this, there's consequences. You must pour it out because that's what the Bible says. Well, the Bible will still continue to say that, but what are you guys doing now? You guys are continuing to play make-believe. I think they're just setting the tone for what's to come next, and what I think is coming next is them rebranding themselves into another organization, putting on my tinfoil hat here and hoping for the best. I'm pretty sure that they have to watch this at a midweek meeting. Typically, when they release a update, they show it at their next week meeting or their midweek meeting the following week. So let's see what happens if there's more chatter about it. Reddit is blowing up like almost every hour. There's almost a new upvote or a new hot topic on this subject. So people are certainly wanting to give their take, give their opinion on how this really does affect Watchtower as a brand, as a name, as people that come out and say that, yeah, this organization has the truth. It's, you guys don't. This is really going to shut up some of the people who like to troll us in the comment section. It's, you don't have the upper hand anymore. You don't. Again, we're always right. The so-called apostates are always right when it comes to how wrong this organization is. So my second guess on what's to come in the near future, I like to just throw a long shot of what's to come, but I think they're gonna have a real big change on aliens and UFOs. I've always been a real big conspiracy theorist. The government's involved in ways to manipulate its people on how they could form this one world government, and I think now is time to put that playing card out. I mean, just again, look at all the evidence. If you haven't done any research on it, do it now, and get your mind prepared for all the delusion and all the propaganda that's going to come out from the media and from religion itself. I know it's a long shot in the dark, but I think it's something worth looking into. I know it sounds crazy, but as soon as the information drops, as soon as the information is out there, you're going to have more and more people questioning what they actually believe. That's why I always show UFOs. That's why I'm tatted with UFO, symbolism all over my body. It's because I really do think government is trying to manipulate us into a path of believing that we need to rely on them and trust what they say. And they want to get rid of the middleman, and I think the middleman is religion. And they're just quietly feeding this information into the public. And I really don't think anybody is really paying too much attention to it. But that's something I do think that the organization will make a change in the coming years, or maybe in the coming months. But let's see. Hopefully everyone enjoyed this video. Hopefully everybody is finding some type of comfort in knowing that they can sleep good at night because they were right about this organization. It's not the truth. They are just interpreting things so they could have control over you. But stay safe, guys, and continue to like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more. You guys have a good one.